Good morning, early birds. How are we all doing today? Had a yummy chicken dinner. That's dope. I had Brussels sprouts for breakfast, and they were good. What was in your chicken dinner? I want to know. Tell me. Putting the microphone really close to your face. Tell me. What are these little numbers? What is happening to my screen? I have received 20 diamonds. You just had 8 teeth pull out of your mouth? I'm sorry. You're throwing nickels at me? Oh. So what the hell actually is humanism? We're going to try and talk about that, because it's annoying. Hey, Volatile Sublime, welcome. Jumping some unemployment hurdles. Yup. We've been talking about that. Hello, McGeezels. Hello, Air Guitar Store. Welcome to chat. I feel like every time I do one of these, I get a new chatter. That's good. It means more people are checking in. I want to stream more. You know, I enjoy doing these streams. I'm getting a lot more comfortable with the technology. I'd like to do more. I enjoy our little morning chats. Yeah, I want to pick up some different time slots. Give more people an opportunity to check in. Maybe I'll do more stuff in the evenings. As much as I like doing Gourmet Thursdays, streaming like Thursday and then Friday was always difficult because it was like I had no time to come up with new bits. So I think it would be fun to do like Friday, Tuesday or something. I'll do Friday mornings and then like Tuesday evenings. Yeah, I know it's late for some of y'all. It's very early for me. Yay! Well, glad to catch you live. I have been doing quite a bit of reading, but I have also been extremely busy with apartment hunt shit. So, unfortunately, I have not had much time to do more research type stuff. Which is making me very anxious, but I have, like, stupid grown-up shit to focus on. Honestly, kind of a crass way of referring to it, isn't it? Like, calling apartment hunting adult shit. I'm pushing 30. It is a very infantilizing process, I think. Like, you have to like pretend to be a good boy to talk to old people that own a building that you would like to live in. And you're like, I want to give you money. And they're like, I don't know if I want that. Although, I will say that this most recent apartment hunt has been much nicer. First and last in cash, I'm telling you. Yeah, but I'm living in LA. Like cash, if someone is selling an apartment for cash in LA, it's usually because something is like wrong with it. But there are a lot of places in LA that are like, I have such a nice chat. I do. I yell at them if they're bad. You guys have been more well behaved recently, which is nice. Yay! Yes, you guys have been very good. No, I spent like 2 days ago, I spent like literally 14 hours driving around LA with my roommate to be. Just like calling people, there was like room available, and you just call it immediately. Be like, do you have any 2 beds available? It's like, oh no, we only have a 1 bedroom. It's like, wow, cool. Maybe you should have put that on your damn sign so that I knew who to fucking call. I was basically hanging out the side of the window, like taking pictures of people's phone numbers on for rent signs, and then we would like park somewhere and then call 5 or 6 of them at the same time. It was an effective process, but goddamn, did it take a long time. Are prime resurgences an expression of hauntology? I don't think so. They're like back for real. Like they're not coming back as like an idea that haunts the psychoscape or something, or like they're not coming back as like a weird idealist construct that informs reality. They're just back. You can just get them. But hauntology is also one of those like very flexible terms that you can just kind of use whenever. Ever heard of the 100th monkey pseudoscience theory? I have not. Let me Google that real quick. That sounds funny. Let's see what we have going on here. 100th monkey theory. Popular cons... Okay, 100th monkey effect Wikipedia. The 100th monkey effect is an esoteric idea claiming that new behavior is spread rapidly by unexplained means from one group to all related groups once a critical number of members of one group exhibit the new behavior or acknowledge the idea. The behavior was said to propagate even to groups that are physically separated and have no apparent means of communicating with each other. In the 1970s, popularized from 1950s Japanese primatology studies. Interesting. Observing the washing of sweet potatoes, and then the behavior spread, seemingly in no way, like, they couldn't tell how the behavior spread. I'm ontologically hungry. Hi, Ellie! I mean, I think you are... I think life is ontologically hungry. I think that's simply true and beautiful, Ellie. The purpose of life is to hunger. You're epistemologically hungry? Most people call that curiosity, I think. This guy named Ken Keyes popularized this theory because he wrote a book trying to stop nuclear war, claiming that if enough people knew it was bad, the info would transfer mind to mind to the whole world and stop nuclear war. Interesting. That's fun. I like the idea that it's like, it's not possible that another monkey could have watched a monkey washing sweet potatoes. It's simply not possible. Been learning about spinning, weaving, and their relationship to ritual magic. Yeah, like there's gotta be some sort of ritual beliefs in like textile industry shit. Like even just like hand making textiles. I know it was a big that I've heard references to that being a thing in regards to the Norse women that would make sailcloths for Viking ships. Although that could be complete bullshit. Who the hell knows? The one thing about 70s woo, they were trying to stop nuclear war. That's true. That's true. A lot of woo these days literally doesn't know what they're about. It's like some vague idea of, like, success or self-improvement or something. Hello, Stream Hub World. Now, who is this delightful little image? Pico Mouse. I see. Textile magic is computer? Kind of. It was for like a couple years, and now it's not really anymore. Now machines make it. You can assemble code in Fabric, and a lot of the earliest computers were programmed for a textile pattern weaving, which is pretty neat. Yeah, we need to go back to hand weaving RAM. Like, we need to have an old Nona, like, spinning copper wires on a wheel and getting horrible emphysema illnesses from inhaling copper dust. I maintain in the absence of the Cold War, the West didn't know what to do with itself, and our manufactured conflicts of the 21st century just don't cut it. Potentially a factor, I think. The 70s and the Cold War in general had such a, like, clear villain for wooey types in the West, though. Like, there was... Every 1970s woo thing was, like... There's a great war between, like, America and, like, a Russian or Arab-coded people. Like, so much of it just mirrors the political situation in Afghanistan. It's like, wow, these two great powers are fighting a proxy war, but for our souls! You have such a pleasant voice.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Ugh. Give Grandma bronze lung. Exactly. Even Willy Wonka was like that a little bit. They should do a remake of Willy Wonka where he has bronze lung. Or he's just coughing really bad because he has metal shavings inside of his body. They presumed a secret Soviet of witches counterpart. And I don't think Soviet witches are real, but who boy, what if they were? No, the communists had plenty of their own woo. Like, it's been something that I've been trying to find good sources on, because there are constant references to it in a lot of, like 1970s, 1950s Russian literature. It's like, a lot of it was, like, weird pseudo-psychology stuff. They kind of got on that boat a lot more. Things that I would derisively call maybe Scientology themed. Not in that Scientology was literally a power, but in the same, like, spiritualization of psychology as a thing. There's been a couple books on them, but it's really hard to find translations or copies on the internet. Yeah, it's a fascinating world of scientific materialist woo. What was the KGB MK Ultra unit called? I don't think they had an MK Ultra unit, but it was like, they had like an experimental science division that was like in charge of trying to make ape men for Stalin or something. I think that's also one of those, like, factoids that's kind of exaggerated, but I think something along those lines did happen. I want to learn more about it. Yeah, not quite the same, but still pretty fun. I agree. What if yeah, what if it worked? What if he was able to make an army of ape men? We would all have to tremble before the night of Stalin's mighty ape armies. Where's my water? I need to go get my water. Chat, be good for a second. Hello, Miss Mekki is here. Soviet esotericism is 50%. We gotta replace religion, and 50% the Thule Society was onto something. We must scour the steppes for artifacts. Yeah, like modern Russian occultism is very like mud flood empire of Teresia type shit. But who knows? It's impossible to tell. I think it might be time for Warframe. What do you guys think? So, okay. I know that I was using this skin last time, but this is no mere Valkyr. This, in fact, is a fully built Valkyr Prime. Thanks to the contributions of wonderful chat members. Also, Ghost, you gave me a fucking bunch of Riven slots, which... Thank you for that, but I don't really use Riven mods all that much. I'll have to get some more Riven mods. So, our goal today is to acquire Aya, because I need one more Venka Prime Gauntlet. So, we are going to be cracking one of the relics that I have real quick. I believe it is an Axie relic. And then we're going to go farm Aya. Because I need one more of these. And if this does not turn out, I believe I have it written down. I have the prime frames that I still need written down. The ones currently in rotation that I still need is Harrow. Yes, it's Harrow. I don't know if Nidus is back, if Nidus Prime is in rotation, but I need Harrow Prime. You have an Incarnate Boar with over 40% heat proc? Or 400% heat proc? That's pretty good. Hopefully just by doing this we can acquire some more yummy relics and snacks and joy. Okay, time to ramble about philosophy. If you're that guy in my YouTube channel who keeps marking it, we're going to start here, alright? So, okay, I've obviously, if you're on the Patreon, I've obviously been writing about Renaissance knowledge systems, like what it means to know something in the Renaissance, which is a very interesting and basically impossible question to answer. And a word that keeps getting thrown around a lot is humanism. And my problem with this word is that it basically does not seem to have a consistent definition. Or, if it does, it is constantly overused. Do any of you in chat, do any of you, like, have opinions on what the term humanism means? Because here's the thing. A lot of the biographies that I'm reading at the moment, they don't seem to... No clue, boss? Yeah, okay, so... The Renaissance was a big, like... A lot of shit was changing in terms of, like, how people were taught things. Like, how... like... Theories of how you should educate people, right? One of the big things for the medieval era was scholasticism, right? It's the idea that, like, you should go through primary sources, and if two sources conflict, there is probably some piece of information that you can determine that will unify the two sources, right? Like, if Plato and Aristotle disagree with each other, what interpretation of their shit could make it work together, could unify the two? This was practiced largely in... hang on. All right. Aya farming we go. Yeah, evolving pedagogy. Pedagogy is the science of how to teach things. And the thing with scholasticism is that scholasticism was largely a thing that priests did, because most of the educational institutions in Europe were owned by the Catholic Church, or funded by some combination of sovereign funds and the Catholic Church. They were usually almost entirely staffed by priests or clerics of some sort. All right, to the Necrolisk. So this, you may be asking, CT, why the fuck was the Catholic Church, funding all of these universities? I thought they didn't like to teach people. Well, no. That made a lot of these universities essentially factories for trained courtiers, right? If you need somebody who can measure bridges to get your army across, or people who can draw maps for your armies. Oh, yes, Miss Mackey. Brainwashing? No, we don't use terms like brainwashing here. We are materialists. We are historical materialists. We believe in societal structures and the material influence that they have on populations. Brainwashing is not a real thing. The actual use of the stained glass in churches was to teach illiterate people Bible stories that they would learn sin and obey. That is an extreme over-dramatization. That is not how that worked. They were also a show of wealth. So, okay. Leaded glass is very cool, yes. So, okay, a lot of these universities essentially functioned as training camps for useful courtiers, right? Kings and princes need people who know how to do math and whatnot. But a lot of the educational manuals that people had were effectively recovered from the Middle East, right? I assume that almost everyone who came out of them had the education that one needed to become a priest specifically, even if they didn't become priests. Actually, for a significant period, like, scholars at universities, like teachers at universities, were effectively given the rank of cleric. Like, they were, protected from persecution for their studies somewhat, which was... gave the church enormous control over them, because that status could be rescinded at the church's discretion. However, it also turned them into these, like, bizarre pockets of, like, you had very intense religious conservatives sharing ideological air with pretty significant, like, liberal sympathizers. And one of the biggest changes of the Renaissance was the recovery of a lot of specifically, like, Greco-Roman pedagogical texts. And the thing with Roman pedagogy is that they really fucking liked rhetoric. And they emphasized the study of language, the arts, theater. Now, these things were already present in Europe at the time. There were already people that were, like, dramatists and rhetoricians and speakers, but it was like... it was so prominent in the Roman system that it made a lot of people seriously reconsider, like, okay, well, how... if they thought it was so valuable to teach people all of these quote-unquote liberal arts, not just the trivium, but the quadrivium as well. What was the university's relationship with Jewish scholars? They were generally not allowed. Like, Jewish scholarship in the High Medieval Era and the Renaissance existed in, like, essentially large metropolitan pockets. There was, like, one in Germany, one in Spain, one in Italy, and then a couple more in Asia Minor and the Levant. But generally speaking, like, Jews were not allowed. However, because Jewish families were so connected with, like, a lot of the the merchant industries, they were one of the way, if you needed to learn a language, it was very common to hire, like, the son of a Jewish merchant who, like, learned a bunch of languages from traveling or something like that. A lot of Italian Renaissance humanist scholars had Jewish language teachers. Like, famously, Pico della Mirandola had, like, 3 or 4 Jewish teachers, 2 of which did not like him. But it was a similar relationship with Islam. It was like, okay, this is one of our great political enemies, but also it's like they were hanging out. They were, like, Spanish Muslims and Spanish priests were hanging out and exchanging information. It was not necessarily always cordial, but it was like there was exchange, obviously. About the trivium, absolutely radioactive false friend with trivia. Love that as an intellectual landmine. Not entirely sure what that means, Irelier, but thank you. Always enjoy your input. That sounds sarcastic, but it's not. Grins. Was lingua franca did not exist yet? Well, no, everyone spoke Latin, right? But it was like, what if you needed to learn Arabic, right? Like, there wouldn't necessarily be, like, an Arab scholar in Italy that you could go to because, maybe they didn't speak Latin, but you might be able to find a Jew that spoke both Latin and Arabic and Hebrew who could teach you all of them. But so, okay, from this general, I'm saying all of this while playing Warframe. I am not a teacher, but generally, humanism seems to have emerged from the idea that maybe, like, the nobility should also learn shit like rhetoric and writing and mathematics and stuff like that. Not just things that are strictly relevant to being a noble. And the implications of that are anyone's fucking guess, right? It was essentially just a more comprehensive form of pedagogy, and the belief that effectively, like, sovereigns especially should learn things, should be, like, highly educated people, similar to scholars, and not just, like, rely on a court of courtiers that could, like, perform intellectual labor for them. They should also have a generalized working knowledge of, like, astronomy, astrology, shit like that. And the widespread implications of that are anyone's guess, because the way that the various heads of state of Europe for roughly 200 years responded to that is very individualized, right? The way that, say, Emperor Ferdinand would react to learning rhetoric would be very different than Elizabeth I learning rhetoric. Didn't everyone learn theology at least to some extent in the Middle Ages? Kind of. It's like there were basically 2 ways to get an education in the medieval era. It was like you went to a church university or you hired a private tutor. And the vast majority of the time, like, if you went to a private university, it was clerics teaching you. They taught you how to write by teaching you to transcribe the Latin alphabet. They taught you catechisms and the Lord's Prayer and all that shit. Although they generally, like, the interpretation of the Bible was kept on a high shelf. You weren't allowed to do that. That was one of the big things that the Reformists wanted, was they were like, well, why can't we interpret the Bible? But generally speaking, you would be educated by a priest, and the information that you learned from the priest would be in line with the goals of the Catholic Church most of the time. because the further you get from centers of theological power, the more lax that education can get, the less orthodox that education can get. And a lot of our sources for like high and late medieval magic, like a lot of the surviving texts are clearly like poorly paid semi-literate scribes just kind of collecting texts in their spare time and doing translations in their spare time. You know, putting folios together of translated texts that may or may not contain spells, and many of which definitely contain spells. But there's definitely a sense that this existed more on the fringe, and a lot of the authors of these texts were aware that they were not doing something entirely Catholic kosher, not entirely allowed by the church. And so there were pains to kind of keep it on the DL, but there was, from what I've read of Kirchheffer's Magic in the Middle Ages, it's like people, like clerical authorities knew this sort of thing was happening, but whether or not it was worth it to investigate it, whether or not it was worth it to like spend church resources on it, to actually prosecute it, was a different question entirely. That definitely changed when the Reformation really kicked into gear, because then the Inquisition were like cracking down extremely, extremely hard on their political enemies, right? Now, once the Reformation starts, like obviously in the lead up to the Reformation, I'm sure you all know about like Martin Luther and his famous 95 Theses and the pretty obvious problems that people had with the Catholic Church for the time. The obvious corruption, the extreme political corruption, indulgences and whatnot, and a lot of these like humanists that had generally, you know, liberal views about what people should learn, were, you know, became reformists, right? And there's especially modern scholarship, because okay. In the late 1980s, around the 70s and 80s, you had the 80s secular humanist movement, which is completely different than the Renaissance humanist movement, right? Not like there's basically, as far as I can tell, no ideological overlap there. And so a lot of modern scholarship tends to throw around the, like, use the 1980s version of the term humanist, which is like secular education and interpretations of scripture that focus on human experience and happiness and like you know, direct expression, like what will actually make your life better, right? It's a more, what is the term, instrumentalist understanding of religion, in which like, hey, it may be praying and it's like, well, praying and meditating both make you happy, and there's a lot of similarities between the two, so they are fundamentally homoousian, of the same stuff, right? The same sort of operations. And that is absolutely not how, like, the sort of secular syncretic thread in the 1980s in England and America is absolutely not what Renaissance scholars were doing. That is completely different. Their understanding was more, it has much more to do with education and pedagogy, you know, teaching and how to teach. What was the conservative idea, what people should learn in the Renaissance? Rigid Catholic orthodoxy. Education is rigidly controlled by the Orthodox, and education should be doled out. Like, they wanted to maintain this system where the church had strict control over intellectual labor, in which universities were factories for courtiers and priests, right? The idea of learning things to become a more well-rounded person that might understand the world better, and thus become like a better ruler in general, was less of an idea. That's a generalization, so don't quote me on that. But like, that's the general, like, I feel like I don't have an entire, I feel like I don't have an entirely comprehensive understanding of what humanism actually meant, because even the way that people used it in the 16th century was like kind of vague. It's like derived from the Latin term humanism, like starting with a U, and it's It seems to just mean, like, a person that has a broad field of study, rather than, like, I don't know, participating in a guild system. But I don't know if that's, like, a material difference between scholasticism and humanism. Because that's, like, the difference between scholasticism and humanism as pedagogical methods seems to be the most concrete way of actually defining humanism for the 16th century. There's a book that several people have recommended to me called Inventing the Renaissance that I would like to read. Maybe we can do a little book club, but I have a lot on my plate recently. I don't know if I have the energy or time for a book club at the moment. But that's the gist of the difficulty that I've been struggling with, because a lot of the biographies that I've been reading is like, it's like anyone that has liberal ideas and isn't a like hardcore Catholic Orthodox extremist is a humanist, and that's definitely not true. Yeah, Tyler Bro, first time chat. That is an excellent first time chat. Oh wait, no, sorry. Tyler, that is a good first-time chat. Not what I was referring to, though. Catechism exists in America, and my church follows the Heidelberg Catechism. Oh, yeah. Protestants are, like, becoming more Catholic now, as, like, an aesthetics thing. It's funny. So, Bacon Side. Yeah, it's you. Humanist groups could be very politically different. When I hear humanist, my brain thinks liberal-leaning. Yes. So, within the actual Renaissance, humanist groups were extremely politically diverse. Like, that could mean hardcore German Lutherist reformer, or it could mean like Catholic reformist sympathizer, right? A guy who still believes in the authority of the Pope, but also has problems with the church and wants a curbing of papal authority and like a reduction in like maybe a reduction in selling indulgences. Like, Gerard Mercator was that type of humanist. He was definitely a Catholic, but he had Lutheran sympathies. And that was the case for a lot of people. A lot of ostensibly Catholic Orthodox people had very humanist sentiments, but they were still Catholics and still fairly conservative Catholics. You see what I mean here? It sounds humanism back then was maybe used like how socialism is used in the modern USA, where there's a misused blanket term for people who aren't conservative. That's hard to say definitively. All I know, the only things that I have like concrete evidence for are that the label of humanist was a blanket term over a broad spectrum of political beliefs, although it doesn't seem to apply to conservative Catholics. Oh, my delicious water. So when people refer to a Renaissance figure as a humanist, it's like, okay, I don't think describing, say, I would disagree, Reformed faith has nothing with Catholic beliefs. We reject the Pope as Christ, and the highest power is not the Pope. Well, Tyler, bro, you didn't actually say what, like, branch you were, but also it's like the including of catechisms is a very Catholic thing. Mimosa, first time chat. I imagine humanist also meant something very different when the religious definition of humans being the beloved children of God held more sway. That is a point I've heard a lot of people make, but I'm not entirely sure if that changed during the Renaissance, right? Like, I don't think there was a material, like, yes, people in the Renaissance and the medieval era believed that, like, human beings are the beloved children of God, but also we were corrupt and far from Eden. But it's like, those aren't, like, what does that actually look like materially in history? Like, what did it mean for people changing their habits or doing different things or supporting different political stances? It's hard to say. But, like, okay, I would... As I read more about Gerard Mercator, I would not necessarily call him a humanist, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think he necessarily... Like, I don't even think he had relatively liberal views of education. He was just a guy that liked maps. He was, like... He wasn't interested in, like, the proliferation of knowledge. He was actually fairly conservative in that regard. He had, like, his views on pedagogy were still pretty, fairly conservative, but he also was just kind of, he had reformist sympathies, I think is the best way of putting that. Wait, why am I here? I want to crack those relics. Would have been the early modernity in the 1800s. Imagine there's a big shift. Yeah, it's like, I don't know how much, like, the interpretation of a human was even a thing in the, like, the interpretation of the human is, like, what's the best way of putting this? Like, there's a lot of people who say, like, oh, in the Renaissance, people were like, what if humans are interpreted as not the disgusting, foul rejects of the Garden of Eden, but as God's beloved children? I was like, I don't really know if that's a thing. I don't know if that was like a change that happened in the Renaissance. Maybe it did. I haven't really seen any evidence that there was like a widespread cultural shift in that. Did people in Mercator's time pronounce it Gerard or Gerardus? Both. You're Dutch Reformed. Oh, interesting. That's actually very interesting. I've never actually, like, yeah, it's a very small sect from what I understand. I've never actually talked to a Dutch Reformed Dutch Reformed person before. That's interesting. Really, actually that does make sense, because like a lot of the Dutch Dutch Protestants had a lot more, like, they were a lot more of that kind of Mercator style, like, guy who still considers himself Catholic but with reformist sympathies. So it makes sense that they would be a little more amenable to, like, incorporating things like catechisms into their shit. That does make a little bit of sense to me. That could entirely be a reach as well, though. Do people say the Latinization out loud or only as it was written? Well, okay, Gerard Mercator's Dutch name was Gerard. But generally, once you became a scholar, everyone in the universities spoke Latin because it was the lingua franca of the day. So you took a Latin name. You Latinized your name. Like, his birth name was Gerard... Oh, I forget what... Kremer. It was Gerard Kremer, the Dutch term for the Dutch term for merchant, and Mercator is the Latin term for a merchant. So when he became a scholar, he took the name Gerardus Mercator. So other scholars would call him Gerardus Mercator, but if he was speaking to another Dutch person, they might call him Gerard. Yeah. Geert de Kremer. I had to leave. Have we talked about the oration on the dignity of man yet? We have not. We have not. One day I will dig into actual Lutheran theology before. I haven't. I've been busy. But Luther is a very interesting writer. He would be fucking horrified by modern Protestantism. Geertz is Dutch? I don't know. Latinization always sounds goofy. Gerardus Mercator. I don't know. One of the biographies of Mercator that I read said that it was like, he called taking a Latin name a humanist name. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I wonder what the fuck that is, like, kind of implied that it was like, you know how, like, black nationalists in the 1970s would take It was like how Malcolm X changed his last name to X because his birth name was like, you know, in America, if you're a black person with a last name like Washington, that means that at some point, you know, one of your it's very likely that your last name came from a person that owned one of your ancestors. So obviously, there's kind of a symbolic shedding of that colonial past. And this article or biography about Mercator was kind of trying to make a similar point that, like, taking, like, Kremer is associated with, like, your peasant upbringing. You know, when your family was literally came with the land that you were born on, and that by taking a Latinist name, you're kind of symbolically shedding that. And, you know, entering into this new humanist paradigm of, like, I'm an intellectual, I'm not a peasant. And I'm like, that's an interesting claim. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's why he did that. Yeah, like how Du Bois pronounced his name non-Frenchly. Exactly. A Christian name and a humanist name? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. Like, that was an interesting claim. I've been asking around for sources on that. I was like, is this a thing? And I think that might be a modern interpretation of what was going on. It's impossible to know for sure. That's not true. We probably could know for sure, but I don't think Latinizing your name is like a humanist thing. The connection is... Yeah. It's like academia plus the classical world. They saw themselves as continuing the Roman and Greek traditions. Those were pagan, not Christian, and therefore inherently on some level possibly in conflict with the church. Like, at that... Listen, by the time you hit the 15th century, it was like Plato and Aristotle were like so firmly ingrained as like, you know, wise pagans that are... Oh, it's okay to like interpret them. Like... Yeah, they were pagans, but they were not so much work had been done to fit them into Catholic doctrine that it wasn't super much of a problem for the church. Occasionally they would discover like a new text from Plato that might have gone against something that the church said, but like that was not a massive source of friction. Or it was not as much of a source of friction as, like, some modern media about the Renaissance that might tell you. Like, because remember, they had pretty much a monopoly on, like, interpretation of intellectual texts. Did humanist as a term become popular before or during the Reformation? I have been curious about that myself. I do not entirely know. It seems like the Latin term, like, humanist, was used for the time. Do I have a Gara? No. I have Gara. That's fine. Like, yes, they were pagan. Like, a lot of the work that would... Like, okay, there were circumstances where, like, a text would be discovered that, like, kind of throws waves throughout the Catholic studying community. The problem was that once the Reformation kicked off, suddenly the textual authority of the truth of Catholic doctrine was a lot more important. It was politically important. The ability to argue that actually these, like, venerated pagan sources are completely in line with Catholic doctrine is a lot more politically important. But Elisa Frame is pretty great for keeping your head around your collection and what was given to the helmet and whatever. Ooh, I might check that out. Humanism as an attempt to make a Smurf language for humans? Also known as Latin, I guess. But it's like, there was definitely a change in, like, how pedagogy worked, right? Like, that, there was a material change in, like, the interpretations of pedagogy, the materials used for pedagogy, and, you know, how people had access to education. That changed. Have you read Name of the Rose, lol? I have. One of the most, you can tell Echo was a medievalist books I've ever read. Ooh, a Name of the Rose opera. Is it also as long as Name of the Rose? Yeah, Luther claimed that Augustine would have agreed with him, which is interesting, and not entirely wrong. So a lot of the,
Yeah.
I imagine you can be a lot more loosey-goosey when you're the only real authority versus the nature of reality in the region when suddenly a rival pops up. Yeah, exactly. Like, if you have political rivals that are, like, challenging your textual authority in intellectual circles based off of your interpretations of Aristotle and Plato that, you know, might be a little bit of a stretch sometimes, it suddenly becomes a lot more important for your internal cohesion. Wish you knew more about medieval Christianity to understand it. Yeah, it is kind of a homework book, but also the characters are really fun, and, like, I kind of hate the term cozy, but it can be a very cozy book at some times.
Wee.
So I don't know. The Renaissance is a very, like, it's one of the few times in European history where, like, college professors had a weird outsized amount of political power. It's such a fascinating period. I love the, like, the liminal periods in history where it's like, hey, the medieval period is changing into the Renaissance right now. That is thematically appropriate. That is. Valkyr post rework is so fun. She has quickly become my favorite frame. It's nothing but, like, zipping around with a grappling hook and just beating the shit out of things. Actually, let's use our claws. We have claws.
Yay! Wee.
I kind of want to do an impact build with her. I'll see if I can do that. Does Mechtild have the zoomies? No, I have the zoomies in my video game that I'm playing. How often did people claim to be humanist? And how often were people accused of being humanist? Well, see, okay, people weren't accused of being humanists. I don't think that was a thing. People were accused of being reformists or simply heretics, right? The longer the Reformation and the Counter-Reformation went on, the more it was like any even slight political opponent of the church was just folded into, like, what are you, some kind of Lutheran? Like, that happened to Mercator. He was imprisoned on suspicion of heresy just because he, like, hung out with people that might have been Lutheran one time. You have claws with some, but only 1.3 follow-through with makes them absolutely insane. Ooh. Yeah, humanism was like a compliment. Like, people claimed the title of humanist, and it was like, it's like even relatively. It seems like even relatively conservative Catholic pedagogues also would have claimed it. Not entirely sure. Back on topic, I forgot a lot about the argument, but back in my uni days, the Renaissance was treated kind of as a fallacious concept. Yes, the Renaissance is an emic or edic. I forget which one. It's an outside label applied. Like it was really just kind of like the culmination of the medieval era. Did people self-identify as humanist more often than other people prescribed humanist to them? That is hard to answer. I would need a much more comprehensive knowledge of the contemporary literature. Yes! Yes! Delightful. It is time.
Yay! I love gambling.
Ah, and it feels so incredibly good. Oh, I might be getting a text from my roommate. I will need to take this. Sorry, chat. The Venka bus is about to be in the station. Renaissance scholars be like Siddhartha Gautama's. That's kind of real, yeah. Soon you will be fully equipped. Ooh, okay, I need to do this real quick.
Mission complete. Excellent work, Tenno.
Okay. My application has been accepted. We're waiting on a $40. We're just waiting on the $40 fee to check your credit history. Okay, that's cool. How should I send that to you? You just sent me an email and you don't have a website. Do I just like send you a picture of my Venmo? What the fuck is up? Sorry, chat. I have to do this real quick. Also, what's fucking stupid is like, if I go do the credit check on my banking app, it's like you have a clean 756, but then I keep getting like they keep asking for credit checks here, and they're like, actually, you only have like a 675, and I'm like, okay, well, what's the fucking point then? Like, what? Ugh. I'm going to become the Joker. Friend of mine can't get a pet because of the same ongoing pet fees or whatever. You register them as a fucking emotional support animal. Yay, I love autofilling my fucking codes.
If lost upon the plains outside Cetus, you may derive sustenance from mineral-dense termite droppings, which the Ostrons call Ito Da. You may also never form a consonant again, but at least you will not be dead.
Does that work? Can you get around it if you have a support animal? Yeah, they're legally protected. Okay. Once they respond to me to tell them how to give them money, I will do that. Got to check my fucking email again. Yay! Yay, 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 yay. Okay. Yeah, landlord pricing is completely vibe based. Fucking sucks. Okay, okay. Good lord. Let's put this bad boy in the oven. Yes! Alright. Let's see what to do now. Yay, I love buying things. I love giving random people my money. Oh, hang on. Gotta fucking... Okay.
Stand up straight now. Let me look at you. The Prime Vanguard.
Alright.
Pride of Empire.
Do I have a Saren? Pretty sure I have a Saren.
Hell of a thing.
I need Harrow. I need Harrow Prime. Okay.
Damn. Sure, I don't let your Uncle Teshin down now.
He is uncle. Okay, now I need to check what Harrow parts I have. Okay, just need the systems. Yay! Alright, back to Necrolisc. We're grinding for Aya. Yay, yay, yay. Ugh. Gotta text my roommate again. Okay. I am excited to move, even if it is going to be expensive and I might have to lock in for a couple months. It will be very nice. My parents' house has a lot of amenities, but it is in a pretty significantly socially isolated part of California. Hard to meet people. LA will have quite a bit of opportunities for me. One of which being that my roommate helps out with a venue, and they've been wanting to do more events, so I might actually be able to do a live episode of Quizzardry. Like, if you guys want and are near LA, you could come see me live.
Find it and put an end to it. The infestation is a marvel in its own way. And
Hi, sign.
of ever-changing flesh, bone, and gristle. A particularly murderous specimen.
Okay, my dream would be to hook up a computer and the AV equipment at the live venue so that there can be a live audience and a Twitch audience. I figured I can get butts in seats talking about occultism in LA. I applied for this thing called, like, Lectures on Tap, where it was, like, you just, like, lecture at a bar while people drink or something, you know. And that's exactly what I do. I do funny lectures. I can be sillies. How's the Freemason Lodge plan going? tabled for the moment because I have adult responsibilities and there are things I need to do to make money before I can afford a Freemason membership. I want to do it. I really do. I cannot afford it. It will happen. It will happen at one point, but I also haven't, like, money's tight right now for a lot of people. I don't want to, like, I feel weird hawking my Patreon too much, especially with, like, the fact that it's, like, I've been doing all this shit with moving, and I haven't been updating my Patreon as much, so I haven't had as much to post, so I'm just trying to, like, lock in and, you know, make stuff that people can enjoy. The last time I did an event for my roommate, it made, like, pretty good money. What if you just rent the lodge? Yeah, I'll live in a Freemason lodge. I can have an awkward lunch with some uncles every month or so. Yeah, everyone's being real careful these days, so I think it would be fun to sell, like, just do fun live shows or something, and then see if I can't, like, simulcast them on Twitch so that y'all can enjoy them too. I don't know. You've done live events before? Oh, yes. Not like as CT Cryptotheism, just other stuff. Like, I've done tarot readings at, like, as a little side party thing for gallery openings and stuff. Your uncle just got promoted in the Freemasons? Badass! That's really cool. You think Master Roshi is my real name? I mean, CT is my name. Like, that is my actual name, but Cryptotheism is not my name. Yeah, nope, it's, it'll be an interesting time. I'm pretty good with money. And hey, every one of you who's actually giving me money to talk about history and stuff, I seriously appreciate it. This is my main source of income. If you want to subscribe or hit me up on Patreon, I would enormously appreciate it. I know money's tight right now. Next you'll tell me you're not actually a skeleton. Yeah, crazy. Crazy thought. Would you qualify doing card readings as theater kid shit? It's not theater kid shit. It just feels like a fake job, you know? I used to, like, hawk my Patreon by selling the tarot readings, and, like, they're, like, weirdly annoying to do. Like, I have to, like, take pictures and then transfer them to my phone and then, like, copy paste to things with Tumblr's weird formatting bullshit. And it's annoying. I don't like doing it. It takes, like, a weirdly long amount of time for really just saying, like, hey, thank you for subscribing to my Patreon. Here's another advertisement for my Patreon and the tarot deck that I sell. I like doing them in person because it's a little bit of a production. That is theater kid shit, but simply just because it's theater. I think it's fun to do, like, a roast comic thing while you're doing tarot readings. Like, oh, this thing says you're stupid and gay and you're gonna die. Try being less ugly. I don't know. There's a lot of opportunities to, like, do new shit. Turns out, like, hawking a Patreon on Tumblr is actually not, like, a growth industry. But I have a lot of skills that I've learned, and I enjoy making, like, fun shit for y'all to watch. So I'm excited to, like, make new stuff. If any of you are in LA, come by. I'll advertise it on Tumblr. You can come say hi. Tarot readings as improv is kind of inherently theater kid adjacent. But there is a swag you can put on it. There is a distinctly non-theater kid swag you can put on it, but you have to recognize that energy is there. It's very easy to do it swagfully, but also equally as easy to do it cringely. Hopefully you can somewhat make ends meet. See, here's the thing. I can make ends meet. It will involve a lot of annoying budgeting, but I can do it. This is really just me, like, like, I think I've talked about it before. It's like my parents' house is quite comfortable, but it's almost too comfortable. Like, it's not like the prospect of moving out is like making me consider like my my writing career and like the space I take up in the world and like the actual skills that I have are I can probably do stuff that's not on Tumblr, weirdly enough. Ever since you taught Jamie about tarot card symbolism, I think of every tarot card differently now. We should do another wizard stream sometimes. That was a lot of fun. Those were always fun. Gamble, 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 gamble. Yeah. I'm gonna pay for my new LA apartment by getting really good at DraftKings. I'm gonna start streaming DraftKings on Kick or some shit.
You will need to create a killing zone. Activate local excavators to clear yourself some room to maneuver. Scanning. Detecting subsurface.
I want to do I want to stream more in general, and I think it would be fun to just like have more people on stream. Do more little events. Right, really put the crypto and cryptotheism. I'll rug pull y'all asses. Your writing is really great. Where do you think to take it? I mean, honestly, anywhere that'll make me money. I kind of enjoy the prospect of like figuring out what is artistically satisfying to me, but also profitable. I like that. I like balancing the two. I think it creates an interesting tension in whatever you're writing. You try being a certified wizard like that guy in New Zealand? Yeah, but I live in LA. No one cares if you're a certified wizard. LA's full of wizards. But also, I'm very good at being a wizard. There we go. Okay. We'll see. I actually checked the analytics on my VOD channel for the first time. You guys really like this stuff, huh? What are you, a bunch of losers? You got nothing better to do but to watch my VODs? Do a wizard show on Dropout? I like being a game show host. It's fun. I want to do more game show type stuff. I want to do more panel shows type stuff. It's silly. It's fun. Medieval occultist gacha game would be... Whoa, a shiny Pico! That is true. You could, like, waste a bunch of money trying to get, like, I don't know, a shiny Mercator, and then your wife would divorce you. And you would post on Reddit about how, like, she just doesn't understand your money-making process. Hey, Fat Dragon Friday. Gotta be honest, I do usually put on the VODs while playing while you play Warframe yourself? Doesn't that get distracting? I guess I keep the volume pretty low. The best part of your content is that you're very good at getting an audience to follow along. Yeah, I am girl that likes explaining things. There was a Tumblr post. It was like, my curse as an academic is that I enjoy like finding weird guys and explaining their oddball metaphysical systems, but no one cares. I was like, no, people do care. People literally love oddball metaphysical systems. Like, and there is an art to explaining a worldview, to explaining why someone thought weird shit about the world. It's an art, and it takes a degree of intellectual humility that I find very engaging. And just like figuring out how to get people to be like, okay, leave your preconceived notions on the table. Here's how the world kind of worked back then. I think that's really fun. Do you have any tips on how to explain complex stuff coherently? Do it bad first, and then figure out where people ask questions, where they were like, oh, I didn't know what you were talking about until you explained this. And then, like, it really is just the order that you explain the information in, like, half the time. Like, that's a lot of it. It's just, what is the most complex or interesting thing that you are trying to explain? And then work your way, like, before you start talking, work your way backwards about, like, okay, what do I need to explain to lead people here, right? You can't just start in the middle and spiral your way out. You got to start at the center and then kind of spiral your way in. You're building a tower. that and doing it is ethically super good. Yeah, I like explaining things to people. I like teaching people. But I specifically like learning along with people. I like that I'm not an expert. I like that I'm a passionate amateur. And I think people kind of enjoy that energy of like, oh, I'm kind of learning along with you, you know? I think people like that, and they respond to that well.
I have detected a hive nearby. Shoot to destroy it.
So many academics are like, oh man, only 2 people will read this paper. Yeah, it is sad. It's like, I wish I... But it's also, like, a lot of academics simply don't know how to help people care. Like, people want to care. People want to be interested in your shit, but, like, the way that 98% of it, like 80% of it, is simply the way you tell them about it, the way you present it to people. That's enormously important. It's, you know what the skill is? It's figuring out what is actually interesting about this weird shit, right? Like, there's what's interesting to you as like an expert. There's what's interesting to me as like a person that really cares about historical metaphysics and shit. But then there's like, why would the average person care about this, right? And it usually comes down to questions. It's like, there are questions that people have had all throughout history of like, what does it mean to be a good person? What does it mean to be a bad person? What does it mean to love someone? How does the world work? How do we, like, why do people have traits? You know, why am I the person I am? And a lot of the metaphysical systems of history are interesting answers to those questions, right? That's one of the things about a lot of oddball metaphysical systems is they are fundamentally interesting responses to common questions. Academia is kind of a world into itself, and the way you write to be successful is kind of contrary to the way that you write to make things good to outsiders. Yeah, I think that's part of why there's an increasing market for, like, people like me, like science communicators, who are not necessarily, like, academics or experts in and of themselves, but, like, are able to interpret academic works in a way that is, like, productive and useful for people. Like, being able to communicate why the science is interesting to people. When did you first get the idea to write a beginner's guide to the history of occultism? Frankly, it was like, I was learning enough about the occult that I realized I wanted to seriously study it, and there's really not a better way to learn than just, like, trying to teach someone. So I was like, fuck it, I'll see what I can do. And then I very quickly realized I was in over my head and out of my depth, and I was like, okay, let's lock in, let's fucking do it. Your professor is at least huge on humanism as an ideal. Okay, but which humanism, though? We've been talking about it. Which humanism is he, like, all about? I feel like you're really good at it. I feel like if you're really good at it, you could probably find an artful way to say, you know, 12th century Sufi mystic had some interesting thoughts about what you just said. Yeah, no, literally. It's also just, like, inherently interesting to say in a group setting. You know, it's like, hey, you know, there was a guy in the 12th century who had interesting thoughts about, you know, the stupid shit you just said. You just threw yourself in the deep end. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I operate. I like doing just, like, the hardest version of whatever I'm doing first. So that way, if I'm a complete fuck-up at it, I don't have to feel bad about myself. It's like, well, this is my first time, and I'm doing the hardest version, so obviously I was going to fail. And if I do great at it, then I'm a genius, and no one can stop me.
Cephalons tell me the infested specimen was located and slain. A small victory, but victory nonetheless.
I truly believe in education by immersion. History, philosophy, and the adjacent fields are still called the humanities. Yup. It's nice watching you since I'm never at risk of going on a call, doing something embarrassing, and being compared to some kind of kid in 16th century Italy. It's like, I don't know, I say stupid wrong shit all the time. There's a lot of people on Tumblr who think I'm a complete idiot with nothing valuable to say. And maybe they're right. Who knows? I'm not going to stop, though. Grins. We have got our Aya. Ugh, delicious water. Hey. It is time for us to take a little break. Stand up, stretch, get yourself some water. We will return in a moment.
Otis went mad for 3 milliseconds when he realized that each time he cleans something, he makes something else dirty. Ah! There I go again.
I'm back, everyone. I had another idea for a game if you guys want to talk about it. If you guys want to hear. Had another beautiful idea for a game I'm never going to make. Yay! Okay, my ambassador is topped off. So, okay. I think it was on another stream, but like someone in chat while we were talking about making games or something was like, you have to make a Pokemon alike. You know, you've got to make a Pokemon game that is, or a Pokemon alike. Like, what do? You can't just, like, make a Fakeamon or a new region or something. You have to make, like, add something meaningful to the game loop. And I was like, okay. Pokemon. The Key of Solomon. Where? Harrow. Okay, I need the systems. Okay. So, okay, Pokemon game setting is like kind of biomechanical. You know, you've got living tanks, living forklifts, little battery snakes that plug themselves into ancient sockets and stuff.
If you're here for relics, you might have to
Harrow Prime Systems. It is 3-on-3, right? It's 3-on-3. And it has Expedition 33's block and counter system. You know, little mini game when you use your attack, and every time you all of your attacks cost mana, and the only way to get mana is by successfully dodging or parrying. And it's 3-on-3, so each little mon gets an attack on your turn. So you might have one mon that's like the big heavy damage dealer, but is a super mana hungry. So you've got another mon that's like your battery generator, and then you've got a third one that deals like status effects or something. Because the thing with with Pokemon combat is that it's interesting, but it's very flat. Call that Popemon? Yeah, you could do that. The idea being that, like, and also part of it is that it's okay if you take the Pokemon apart and put them back together, so you can, like, if you want to, like, the TM-HM system is literally just like the limbs that the little Bobots have. And what slots into what is a different thing. What if they all have one of 3 types? Like, you have to have a DPS, a healer, and a tank. I was thinking it's like you can have 3 healers, but it just might suck. I think in general you should have a DPS, a healer, and a tank. Are you describing Mordasheen? I don't know what that is. Yeah, all tank team. See, my thought was like, what if you have like a living tank mon that looks kind of like a Gek from Metal Gear Solid, and it has like a main gun attack that does a fuckload of damage, but it's really inaccurate, so you have to pair it with like a little spotter mon that has like abilities that increase your accuracy, but only while it's alive. Okay, Harrow Prime. There we go. Yay! Equip for mission. Is a TTRPG that is biotech where you make your Pokemon out of other creatures. You scan the Pokemon to be able to use flamethrower. Oh, interesting. Might skedaddle, fun stream. H. Hi, Ghost of Christmas Future. Thank you for your H. It's one of the, like, okay, my brother recently jailbroke my DS and put all the Pokemon games on it. Because the last Pokemon game that I played was Pokemon Diamond. And that was nice, but I've always wanted to play the next ones. So I'm currently playing my way through, what is it called? Fucking Pokemon Platinum. And then I want to play my way up to Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Or no, what's the... It's like I don't really have any interest in Sword and Shield. That game looks kind of bad. But the other ones look interesting. I've always wanted to play more Pokemon. Diamond was the first one you owned. See, the first one I had was, what's it called? Fire Red. I had Pokemon Fire Red. Shit. Yeah, I want to play Black 1 and Black 2. How the fuck do I get up there? I hate this room. Yay! Okay.
You have collected enough reactants to open
Your first Pokemon was Sword and Shield? I don't know. It's fun to think about, like, Pokemon is such an interesting, like, game loop, and it feels like it has so much room for improvement. And yet Game Freak seems to, like, not want to make the games more interesting or change them too much because that'll make them unfamiliar to new people. It's also, like, for babies. Like, fundamentally it is for babies. Adding a parry minigame would be, like, bad for the babies. I don't think I would have liked Pokemon as much if it had a parry. I hate timing. I hate paying attention. One of the things I like about Pokemon is how casually you can play it. Like, so many games, like, demand so much of your attention these days, and I'm like, it's nice to play a video game that's just like, oh, you can save whenever you want and quit whenever you want. I was like, oh, dope, nice. I say own because I played older games and I wasn't allowed to have consoles until I was older enough to understand how to use them. Ah. The babies will have to learn to square up, but in their own time. We don't have to rush the babies. What would be the in-universe reason for why people are fighting each other with these things rather than just throwing hands? I think you're like... I think you're like a biologist or something. I think I would do it as like... There's a planet that has this unique, like biomechanical accident, and there's several corporations like competing. Like there's several like corporations and independent explorers competing to like try and exploit these things. These like weird microwave creatures or something. H. Although there is something nice about like the gym system of like it's canon that you're just like this is a thing people do where once you're an adolescent you just kind of go out and have an adventure and people are nice to kids. A friend of mine told me how he kind of learned how to read through Pokemon Pearl. That's cute. For a while I had mine in French so I could get better at French when I was still taking French classes. Blue was your first Pokemon? You got to play with the super overpowered psychic type version of the game. Pokemon World does seem really nice, and there's so many parts of it that are I feel like are unexplored. Like the fact that Pokemon are kind of like applications, or they're kind of a technology. Like they constantly reference like, oh, Machoks are used as like beasts of burden whenever like heavy things need to be carried, and people, like everyone is kind of a Pokemon trainer, but also people just have pets that they enjoy. Like it's just important to like have them be. What is the word for it? What the hell? They need enrichment. They need damn enrichment, and the way you give them enrichment is by making them fight each other. Like, that's the role that humans play in the ecosystem as fight promoters. That's a really cute piece of lore. I really like that. And it is canon that, like, Pokemon definitely eat each other, but for some reason, they also just enjoy fighting. I think that's fun. I think that's a really interesting way to, like, conceptualize the ecosystem. I think it would be fun to go more into Pokemon ecology. Like, how does agriculture work when half of the plants are alive? Meowth was just a regular Meowth that learned how to talk to impress a lot of other Meowth, and most Pokemon are capable of understanding and speaking human language. Yeah. That's wild. There's a lot of weird shit in Pokemon lore. Wait for me. Oh no. Yay, okay. I feel like there's been a couple attempts at a Pokemon like recently, but they haven't really gone anywhere. I really like the Beastie Ball designs. Those are really cute.
Excellent work, Tenno.
And one of my friends has played Beastie Ball and said that it's really good. But I kind of want to play the OG Pokemon games before I play the Pokemon alikes. Not really interested in Pal World, although I like that you can give them guns. I think that's kind of funny. I like that one of the first things that you can craft is a submachine gun. That's a very like 12-year-old design choice. Harrow, you're killing me here. I love that legendaries seem to get less world altering once they get caught. Yeah, they're domesticated. They're like, oh well. Guess I won't fuck with the time stream anymore. Ho hum. Oh yeah, Cassette Beast. That's the other one. But I think it would be neat to try and design a Pokemon game that has like a very different like visual and tonal identity. Because like even Beastie Ball is still like these are fun creatures that we hang out with and they're our friends. And I think it would be fun to like have them just be almost entirely biomechanical. I like the idea that the hunting minigame would be like hacking into them with your phone.
You are going to need
Or simply just killing them and building a new one out of the spare parts.
Stay focused. There's a heavy unit approaching.
Or maybe some combination of the two? Who knows? Whoop, hang on, I need those. Yay! Okay. Hang on, I'm schmoovin', I can't look at chat.
Is open. You have broken their ranks and they are on the run. Another
I don't know, I
success.
like coming up with game ideas that I will literally never make.
Keep going. Nobody knows you're here.
It's fun to think about. Maybe one day when I have more spare time and spare income. But when I'm like locking in to go live in LA, I think the last thing I want to do is get into game development. That seems like a good way to completely nuke my personal time and energy.
Yay!
Circuit Seraphim, welcome to chat. You would like a Robopon because that's basically the gist of how you get new robots and make yours stronger. Nice. Sell a few bones.
Mission complete.
That's neat.
Excellent work, Tenno.
For people saying things. Whatever. Pokemon in a dating sim where each party slot is a spirit thing with a full personality. H. Row. Thank you. GG's. Okay. Yay! They're being nice to me. I love that. Oh, hang on. Roommate text. Oh, apparently they already received the $40 for a credit check. My roommate sent them $80, and they're just like, give us $40 more. I'm not gonna lie, the vibe at this place is fucking weird. Yes. Yes. It's all coming together. Harrow. Soon. What do they need 40 more runes for? I don't know. I guess they just did they not get the first 40 runes? Whatever. That feels weird.
Harrow! Yay!
Have I told you guys about like a lot of the writing for Amber Skies stemmed from an idea I had for a dating sim? My dad challenged me to be like, "Okay, I'm going to give you two genres and I want you to come up with a potential game that would like be a conjunction of the two." And he said, "I want you to make a combination of space chem and a dating sim. What would that look like?" And I was like, okay. Yeah, space chem and a dating sim. So, here's what I came up with. You're basically an AI in control of a biological factory. It's based on like cell biology. It's a cell biology like factory building game. You have to from the cell level up design a dateable creature because the AI that built you is trying to rebuild humanity. And so it's your goal is to recreate humanity atom by atom and having them try to date each other with the eventual goal of biologically tailoring a new human species again. And the game would be called Perfect Human. You have to make your biohorrors fuck each other. And they have to like each other. You have to like make them give each other gifts and whatnot. But you also have to like make sure that they're resistant to, hypersalinity or whatever. Okay, I think that's all the goals that I had so far. Let me check the equipment. I think my next goal is to get all the base weapons. There's a lot of, like, weapons that don't exist in this game. What the fuck is an Azima? I've never seen someone use that gun. I've never heard of that gun. It seems old and bad. That's one of the milestone login weapons. Oh. So many weapons. We could go lich hunting. That could be fun. I also kind of want to do... I kind of just want to work my way through Steel Path. Like, here, let's do a mobile defense mission. Okay, hang on, roommate text. Let's see. What am I going to get done for the rest of the day? Honestly, it's been pretty stressful. I might just chill. What sort of visual style do you imagine for the Biopunk game? Okay, you know how the servo fish look in Warframe? I really, really like their designs, and I wish there were more animals that looked like that, so I kind of want to use the servo fish as a design basis for this. I also really like the designs in Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. I love the weird mix of, like, military technology and, like, armor plating and weird little synthetic muscles. I find it very, very inspiring. So I imagine a lot of things would like that. Love Tink, love Recaster. Like Crysis. Oh, man. I haven't thought about Crysis in forever. I remember that game being, like, famously hard on your graphics card. Like, that was, like, the big test that everyone used for your graphics card. There's also that game Horizon Zero Dawn, but I don't like the creature designs nearly as much. They don't have as much personality. But I like what they're doing with the, like, living biomachines that were made to terraform the Earth or something.
There's a heavy unit approaching.
I like biomachines. In case you guys didn't know, I really like biomachines. But the thing with the servofish is that they have high cuteness. You understand this? If you look at a recaster, it has a little cute face and high cuteness.
Area completed.
I find this important. But yeah, they're not. Yeah, the fucking the Horizon Zero Dawn machines are not. They're too machine. They're not bio enough. I feel like the Geks from Metal Gear Rising are, like, kind of a sweet spot where they have, like, a very mechanical tank head, but they also have weird little rubbery limbs and toes. I really like that. TV heads can be cute too. This is known.
Mission reached. Drop me in and defend our position.
Yay!
Heavy robotic signature detected. Lock and load. I'm in, Tenno. This will take a moment.
Yes, I love the geckos. See, I wasn't imagining Geiger fan. I wasn't imagining Geiger for this. I really like... I like the sort of early 2000s, like, speculative military biomachines that that era of Metal Gear had.
Continue to defend.
Because I think the geckos aren't actually biomachines. They just have synthetic muscles. I don't think they're alive. I think they just, like, have AI in them or something. I bet gecko meat would taste awesome. I think it would be really yucky. I think it would it would be like spoiled yogurt or something. If you cut them in half, they, like, gray goo comes out, and I don't think that gray goo would be tasty. I think it would be quite yucky. Biological forms are so constrained because all of them are right up against one limit or the other, water, calories, or nitrogen. It's so interesting to think about what would happen against those limits. Yes! Yes! What if you could honeycomb bones for weight?
Keep moving.
What if your respiratory system was also a hydrostatic cooling system, so you could get your muscles even hotter?
Terminal spotted. Upload me and
Join me on the squeal path. If Jane was here, it would be called the squeal path.
I'm in, Tenno. This will take a moment.
I think we already have both of those things if you're a bird. Yeah, but what if they were... What if your bones weren't, like, shitty and honeycombed? What if they were, like, really strong aeronautics-grade titanium bones that were also honeycombed? I think that would be fun and cute. Yes, killing. I think it would be fun if, like, all mammalian life just got turbo cancer, but there's, like, their apoptotic mitotic reactions were just, like, 10 times faster. So everything was just an unkillable Wolverine that dies in 30 years. What if you could swap bones? Exactly! This is what I'm talking about! What if you could swap bones? What if you could program in different material densities for your bones? No one is talking about this. Can you stop jumping off a cliff? Uh-oh. Aw, man. Bastard. I might need more AoE, like AoE capacity. Interesting. What if you have a gun so big it makes your arms into liquid and you have to back up arm? You have backup arm. Like, you can fire your biological main gun, but you have to reload your spine every time. I think that's fun. We should let machines have meat. Yeah, no, it's like you should open up a TV and there should be like pulsating organs inside. I 100%, like, they should like eat plankton out of the air. I 1,000% support that. I don't want to do excavation steel path alone. That is not going to work. I think it would make everyone a bit okay at surgery. Maybe. It's impossible to tell. Yeah, we do need, like, Legos for organs to teach people about anatomy. I agree with that ideologically. Air plankton is just bugs? Yeah, but, like, actual air plankton. So there's, like, 1,000 bugs per, like, square meter or something. There should be, like, sky whales that can actually inhale shit. Is 5 relics okay? I don't know. Oh my gosh. The last 2 days have been very taxing on me. This is relaxing, though.
The enemies are dropping
I enjoy our weekly chats.
Forget the reactant.
I look forward to them. I would like to do more things. You should be able to hot swap your own spine. Absolutely. I think house hunting is like maybe one of the most stressful things that a person can do. Like moving and house hunting are like, other than like maybe managing the death of a family member, it's like the most stressful thing that modern people regularly have to do. Hello, Fibonacci. It's nice to see you. I love being in your house and throwing your balls around.
The relic has been cracked open. Finish your mission to find out what's inside.
Your relic has been cracked. I also think they should just give us houses unironically.
Yay!
I will say this move is significantly better than my last one, which was like under pretty extreme circumstances. It was like one of my friends became homeless and we had maybe a week to find and move into. We had like a month to find and move into an apartment. And that was quite stressful because we did not have much money. And they were living in my house, specifically in my room. It was a rough time for my first move out of my parents' house. Was under pretty extreme circumstances. But I'm having a much nicer time this time around. You should be able to physically merge with your house. Like, if you're old enough, you can leave spores and it grows. I think that kind of happens. You know how, like, if a person lives in a room long enough, it kind of smells like them? I think that's kind of that process. But you should be able to use that to, like, control the house. Like, if I have enough of my spores in a room, I should be able to, like flick my finger and turn off lights and shit. I believe in this ideologically.
Progress. But we require more. Again. Formidable progress. I urge you.
Yeah, what the fuck? I'm getting more text from my roommate, and, like, our number one is this really nice 220, like, 2200 that's, like, right next to my friend Bernie's work. It's, like, literally, like, a 5-minute walk from the gallery she works at. But they keep, like, not getting back to us in weird ways. Like, it has a weird vibe. I don't know what's up. We might have to go with our number 2, because they've pretty much already accepted us. We also have a number 3 who is like, is a nice, like this nice old Azerbaijani guy who was like, we went in and he clearly liked us. He was like, we were like, hey, do you want like to do a credit check? And he was like, no, I trust you. I trust you. And so we sent in, like, we filled out the application and like sent a picture to him. And he was like, okay, very good. I show to my son. It was very sweet. I liked him a lot. It's rare that a landlord seems, like, nice. Although I think his son owns the place or something. And he just is, like, the manager or something. But he was very sweet. Very sweet old guy. And he seemed to like us, which was nice. And he was joking around and stuff. Like, he says, like, I live in this apartment. I have this model. And for my birthday, I invited over 40 of my friends. And we had to extend the table. We made an L shape through the apartment. And I was like, oh, that's really cute. That's really smart. But, oh my god, driving around and, like, apartment hunting was just using my customer service voice so much. Just like, hi, yeah, I saw you hadn't... I saw that you had a room open, and I was wondering if you have any 2 bedrooms available for rent. They'd be like, oh no, we only have a 1 bedroom. It's like, oh, okay, you should have put that on the sign. Well, thank you for your time. Good luck. I did. I passed an uncle vibe check, which was very nice. I feel like when I'm boy moding, I definitely give off nice young man energy if I work at it. Like, as long as I don't dress too gay, I have like old people love me. They feel safe around me. They trust me. I get asked for directions even if I'm like not in a place that I know or understand. What a nice young man. Exactly. I got asked for directions in Budapest, Hungary once. Like, a guy came up to me speaking Hungarian, and I was like, I'm here on vacation and I'm 14. I don't know where I am. I couldn't speak Hungarian, but he was clearly, like, gesturing at me in a way that was like, do you know how to get to the train station? It's like, I don't just, I don't think I radiate niceness. Because I can have kind of a flat affect, but I radiate, like, I'm supposed to be here energy. I radiate non-threatening sense of surroundings energy.
Now the tricky part. Air pressure management. Stay limber, biped. You know, with your
Is it possible to learn this power? I mean, it would probably help if you're white. I think that's a big factor in it. Calm energy. Dogs don't bark at you. Animals are my friends. See, I don't think I have Boy Scout energy, because Boy Scout energy is like person that will help you carry things, and I do not have that. People don't ask me to carry things. Yeah, even at my most masculine, and even now that I have decent muscle definition in my arms, people don't ask me to carry things, because I still look kind of like a frail Victorian child. I was talking to Armand the other day, and I was like, I forget what started the conversation, but I was like, yeah, I get like gender euphoria when I look like I'm dying of typhus. That's what my Hungarian ancestors would have wanted for me. They're like, I was supposed to be a bunch of like a series of like noble second sons and daughters dying of a blood disease. That's what God built me for. We need to put you in a machine. Why? Will it make me look sickly and bad? Is that what you're trying to do here? Ugh. Like those kids before labor laws. See, no, that's different from like, it's different from like peasant boy energy. I don't have little peasant boy energy. I have like, who is like Tsar Nicholas's kid that was like sick all the time? I feel like I have that. I look like I'm supposed to be, you know, losing my blood all the time. Alexei, yeah. I look like for most of my life, I've looked kind of like I need papa because I fear this is going to be my last night on this earth.
To produce corrosion, you'll require ampoules of toxin and electricity.
I look like I need a Rasputin. Yeah, I need a wizard doctor. I need somebody who can cure my pallid torpor. Yeah, born to mysteriously cough up blood in a handkerchief and go, and yet, Mother and my eldest sister have brought me some wonderful books of poetry to read. And they feed me fresh oranges from the yard. Father has cooked for me a strengthening broth. That's what girls on Tinder say to me. They're like, damn, you look like you need a strengthening broth. Hey girl, you mind if I take you to the seaside so that the sea air will fortify your countenance? Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this was very productive. But I think it's about time that I leave you here. Let me see. Let me see if anyone is live. Are any of my friends playing and cavorting? Does not seem so. Well, all right then. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and enemies, I think it's time that I leave you here. Depending on how these application things work, I will, I may or may not be around next week. I might be streaming more. A lot of shit is up in the air. I thank you for your patience. Again, this type of thing is my main source of income. If you want to throw me some money, I'd really appreciate it, but absolutely no pressure. Catch you next week, everyone. Bye!